Let's be honest, it's been a little dark for Ratchet & Clank fans over the last few years. The series hasn't seen a traditional entry since the beloved A Crack in Time launched on PlayStation 3 in 2009. The games that followed, All for One and Full Frontal Assault, each had their own high points, but neither impressed like A Crack in Time, and the many games that came before it did. Well, fear not, PlayStation gamers, Insomniac Games has heard your pleas, and the result is Ratchet & Clank Into the Nexus, a traditional style Ratchet & Clank game that's set for release on PlayStation 3 this fall. I was lucky enough to receive an exclusive first look at the game, and I'm pleased to report that there's plenty to be excited about. Seeing the Ratchet we know and love make a return plastered a smile on my face for the duration of the demo. Into the Nexus acts as a sort of epilogue to the future branch of the Ratchet series, and it retains the humor, quirkiness, and outrageous weapons that the franchise is known for. Both Ratchet and Clank are voiced by their well-known voice actors, and Into the Nexus attempts to take the series into what series creator Brian Algier described as, quote, a spookier direction. The game begins with Ratchet and Clank helping bring twin criminals Vendra and Neftin Prague, the antagonists in the game, to a prison known as the Vartax Detention Center. When the delivery of the criminals goes awry, everyone's favorite Lombax and his robotic companion find themselves stranded on a planet known as Yerrick. It was at this point on Yerrick that I got a taste of what Into the Nexus has in store. Algier told me that he wanted to, quote, make Ratchet feel like Ratchet again, end quote. A direct response to the different control schemes and game types of recent years. And Into the Nexus really does play like an old school Ratchet game. Planet-to-planet discovery is back. You can upgrade your weapons by using them, you can collect bolts to purchase upgrades, and skill points have returned too. The crazy weapons the series is known for were immediately on display, including Ratchet's sidearm, the Omni Blaster, and an arc-thrown explosive called the Fusion Grenade. But there were a few weapons that really stood out. The Nightmare Box creates a spooky distraction for enemies, and that distraction changes every time you use it. Sometimes it's a clown, other times it's an eyeball, sometimes it's a robot. The Winterizer is perhaps the funniest weapon on display, a gun that turns enemies into snowmen all the while playing Jingle Bells. It's a completely kooky sidearm, one you'd absolutely expect to see in Ratchet & Clank. The Repulsor, on the other hand, suspends enemies in midair, giving Ratchet a chance to attack. And the Vortex Grenade creates a black hole that forces enemies into the air, defenseless against Ratchet's onslaught. One key piece in Ratchet's arsenal this time around is the Grav Tether, which allows him to navigate complex puzzles via a purple beam that he can deploy by connecting two portals. In the beginning of the game anyway, the Grav Tether is used constantly, and if you're curious if Clank's old moves are intact, they are. He can long jump, high jump, and glide just like in previous core Ratchet games. There are also completely unique 2D side-scrolling sections of the game, but unfortunately, we can't show you that just yet. Into the Nexus is quite clearly a love letter to despondent Ratchet fans. One that returns the series to a familiar form and promises to integrate fan-favorite characters, from Captain Quark to Talwyn to Kronk. For now, this is only on PS3, so don't look for it on PS4. However, a PlayStation Vita release is entirely possible. Insomniac wants to make sure any Vita version meets the series' standard of quality before they make any promises. It will be available both digitally and at your local game store, but it won't carry a $60 price tag. Oh, and if you notice that Into the Nexus lacks its usual innuendo title, rest assured Insomniac knows that. One of the working titles for the game was Into the Nether Regions, a play on the dual-world nether energy that's at the core of Into the Nexus. For more on all things Ratchet & Clank Into the Nexus leading up to its release on PlayStation 3 this fall, keep it tuned to IGN.
Oops, wrong button.